Hi guys, this is going to be really short. This is the very last module that we have, the last chapter of the book that we're going to work on, chapter 12. And so let's get right into it. This is performance and recovery for a network. Okay, as always, this is going to be short and sweet, and I'm not going to linger over it. Module objectives, what you should know at the end of this chapter. Use appropriate tools to collect data from the network. Identify methods to optimize network performance and identify best practices for incident response and disaster recovery. These things are really vague, and so it's really hard for me to focus on any one thing. So what I'm going to do is recommend very strongly that you read the book. You really need, let me start that word over again. You need to read this chapter because a lot of the stuff in the notes is just really vague, hitting the high points. And so that's what we're going to do now. Is I'm just going to kind of run through this. Network management, you need to know that definition. You need to know the things that it involves and the tools that are used. The goals that you want to reach by having a well-managed network. You need to be able to understand about environmental factors. This is very important. Water does not do well, or computers do not do well in water. That's the way it is. Humidity, or the room may flood. Also, that's a bad thing. Also, computers don't do well in high temperatures. Anything over about 70 degrees will begin to degrade the performance of a computer, of an IC. And so what you want to do is maintain a cool, and when I say cool, some of the data rooms that I've been in have been cooled down to 62, 61 degrees. So yes, cool. They need to be very, very well air conditioned. They need to have very good ventilation. And frankly, it needs to be cold in there because the colder it is, the better that the ICs, the integrated circuit chips, run. Smoke and fire, you need to have good fire alarms in the data center. Vibration, you wouldn't think that would be a deal, but that also affects, particularly if you've got systems with mechanical hard drives for servers, like maybe you're using an old SAN network for storage, and it's got a bunch of mechanical hard drives, vibrations will kill them. Motion sensors, you want to address physical security. A thing that I have learned in years of network monitoring is that the best way to prevent being hacked is to lock the server room door. Too many times I walk up to the server closet or whatever in a business and turn the knob and click, it opens, and guess what? There's nobody around, and now I'm alone with the server, and 9 times out of 10 it's logged into the administrator account because they just leave it that way. That is, well, you don't have to hack then. You just open it up and get whatever you want. So make sure that physical security is addressed in a server environment. Room lights, number one, don't waste electricity, but number two, it just adds to heat, especially if you're using anything except for LEDs. Make sure that your power is UPS protected. You need uninterruptible power supplies. If it's a big corporation, a lot of times they're going to be room-sized UPSs that cover the whole server room, because you need at least enough time to shut the server down gracefully and not let them crash, particularly if you have money involved. If there are transactions going on inside your server that involve money and you have a power outage, all that money's gone. There's no backup, there's no rescuing it. If it's all in RAM, in process, things are happening to it, and it doesn't get saved to the hard drive, all the money is gone. So it's important that power be part of your environmental monitoring. There are a lot of applications out there that do this. This little graphic demonstrates the things you need to look at. And this is a picture of a monitoring desktop. It's a thing that you would use to basically it gathers up all your eggs in one basket. This is where you can look at your infrastructure, at your flow rates, at your congested areas, at your physical and environmental factors, all this on a single web page. So yeah, this is a pretty good application to look at. There are a lot of them available. Network monitors, you need to define that. Protocol analyzers, you need to know the difference between wireless inline monitoring You need to know about port mirroring, and you need to know about reporting what devices. There are some smart switches, smart routers, smart servers, all kinds of things that will generate their own reports, basically. If there's congestion in the network, if there is a downtime, whatever, the devices will send you a report on their own. They don't have to have a network monitoring equipment around. Basically, I'll let you look through the pictures and go through the slides. Remember, read the book. I realize that's not a thing that's popular, but this is where you're going to get the information that you need. Protocol analyzers, runts and jats and jabbers and ghosts and things like that, those are packet problems. Those are problems with individual packets, and a protocol analyzer or network monitor is going to be able to find those. It's going to be able to find whatever's causing the packet loss, and it's going to be able to generate you a report so you can look and see where it's coming from and what the problem is. Alerts, you can use, most people use text alerts now when their network establishes some kind of an issue is going on. You generate a SMS, which is a text message, basically from an application, and it sends to all your IT guys and says, hey, there's a problem here. Windows, you need to know how to find the event viewer logs, the security log, the event log, the applications log. You need to know where those are and how to view them. In Linux, you need to know how to find syslog. You need to know how to read system log reports. You need to know the difference between a generator and a collector. You need to know what the SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, is, and you need to know how it's used. Basically, it's a simple and lightweight protocol that allows communication between smart devices, and basically it's used for network management to turn routers on and off, things like that. 3 versions, you need to know the differences. It's kind of vague, but it is what it is. You need to know it's part of the TCP/IP suite. Once again, I'm going to let you go through the diagrams. NetFlow and the NetFlow Analyzer, those are from Cisco. It wouldn't hurt to know what those are, although the Network Plus exam is not a Cisco exam, so they're not going to deal with a lot of proprietary stuff like Cisco would. But still, it's a good idea to know what it is in case you ever do run across one in a corporate setting. Okay, which of the following is not defined by syslog? Message transmission, format handling, or message security? And the answer is D, message security. The syslog standard addresses 3 primary components. That's the message format, the transmission, and the handling. Syslog does not define or require message security. It's a log entry, so not really in need of security. Performance baselines, these are established when the network is at its normal state of operation, and that's important. You need a baseline because then you can say, hey, I've got some kind of a congestion here. I've got some kind of network slowdown here. If I know that every single day my network runs X amount of throughput, X amount of bandwidth, and suddenly one day I'm getting 5 times that amount of bandwidth being used, and I'm not doing anything different, then I need to start looking at my network because somebody's on there that I don't know about. And so that is why performance baselines are important. You need to know how to establish one, basically, or what one is, and how you can use it, which I just explained. Bandwidth management, you need to know about flow control. That is what maintains the amount of volume of traffic over your network. It prevents things from drowning other things on your network with data. Congestion control controls spots that get congested where there are too many packets trying to get through one node. And then quality of service, you need to know if your network stream, if your data is, for some reason, maybe one router or something that the bandwidth is really slow. Quality of service is a thing that you can do. You can set routers to prioritize. So if you've got, say, for example, a router that has 2 networks and one of them is a public network for the people in your lobby that just come in that want to be on the internet, you want to provide them a little bit of Wi-Fi, and then the other one is for your production servers. You definitely want to prioritize the production servers over the lobby Wi-Fi. And so you can set quality of service to say, all right, router, if there's ever an issue with bandwidth, the production servers always win. They always get the priority in bandwidth. So that's what quality of service is. I'm not going to go through these. You need to read about the flow control methods and about the different windows, a sliding window and the go back and forth window. Congestion control techniques. These are what I was just speaking about. How to fix them. You need to know the difference between open loop congestion and closed loop congestion. Open loop tries to prevent it. Closed loop tries to fix it. And that's a very simplified explanation. But you need to go through here and know the definition for retrans, window policy, acknowledgement policy, discard policy. Basically, these control what happens when a packet is going through the network and it hits a congestion point. Essentially, if it's open loop congestion, these are some of the different ways that you can fix it. And then if it's closed loop, if it's already there, then these are some of the different ways you can fix that too. Quality of service. Okay, video and voice transmission are delay sensitive, but they are loss tolerant. Let me explain. Video, we'll use video for example. If you've ever been on a Twitch stream, occasionally you see people dropping packets, and that happens. But it's loss tolerant because it doesn't ruin the whole stream if you just drop a packet here and there. In fact, usually if it's only 1 or 2 packets, you won't notice. That is why you can use UDP to send video. It doesn't check about the packets, it just sends it at a fast rate. So video doesn't really care about lost packets that much. However, what video does care about is when the data stream slows down. When the entire stream slows down, that's when video starts to buffer and it starts to chatter and it starts to jiggle. And so delay sensitive means the whole stream is slowed down. And so that is definitely a problem with video. You want as much bandwidth as possible. The occasional lost packet, video and voice are loss tolerant. They can afford to lose a few packets, but they can't afford for the stream, the bandwidth to reduce. So preventing those sort of things requires more dedicated bandwidth, and that's where quality of service comes in. If you're using some kind of video tool or some kind of video component on your network, and that is a thing that makes most of your money for you, then you definitely want to prioritize that thing getting most of the bandwidth, because particularly with video, bandwidth is just crucial. So that is how you would prioritize your network quality of service. Traffic shaping, I'll let you read that definition. Traffic policing, also that. Prioritizing traffic, I will let you read about the different methods. That's also in the book. Differentiated services, also in the book. Class of service, also in the book. I'm not going to go into these too much now. Let's talk about disaster and recovery strategies. Disasters happen. Tornadoes happen. I recall once upon a time going into a company that had been hit with a flood and digging crawfish and perch out of computer cabinets. So, disasters happen. Now, in that particular instance, the funny thing was I asked them, do you guys have backups? What strategy are you using for backups? And they're, oh, we have these USB hard drives that we swap out every day, so we take home our backup for that day or what it will. Unfortunately, they had left the USB hard drive that they disconnected on a table, and the table was not taller than the flood. So basically they lost everything. We had to go back into QuickBooks, and we had to beg and plead with them to send the latest accountant backup that you use to send to your accountants for tax time. We got one of those from a company, and we were able to restore most of their stuff, but they lost a lot of money in recent transactions because their backup strategy was not good. So rule number 1, backup strategies. You need to worry about those, particularly if you're a larger corporation. Training and preparation makes all the difference. You need to have policies, but then you need to make sure through training that those policies are enforced. An incident is any event that has an adverse effect on the network. It could be a hack, could be a virus, could be a flood in the data room. Whatever it is, that's an incident. A disaster, on the other hand, is extremely big incident, basically, that involves network outage. It affects the whole company rather than just a single system. So you need to know the difference between an incident and a disaster. Incident response, basically, you want to have a plan for any foreseeable incident that your company can think of and some that you can't think of. 6 steps preparation. You want to prepare for the disaster beforehand. Detection and identification, the sensors that we talked about earlier, humidity and temperature and things like that. Containment, you want to disconnect the infected part of the network, for example, and make sure that the infection can't spread any further than it is. Remediation, you want to fix it. Recovery, you want to restore the backups that you've carefully kept. And then finally, go back and see how your plan worked and modify that plan based on your review. Data preservation, I'll let you read that, but here is the basics of what to do in the case of an incident. If there's sensitive information or other things, particularly if a crime is involved, until the police get there or until an incident response team from the company can take over there. You want to secure the area, lock the door, don't let anybody in. Document the scene, take out your phone and take copious pictures. Monitor evidence and data collection. You want to watch while people are gathering up stuff. Protect the chain of custody. What that means is you want to make sure that once something goes into a plastic bag, it stays carefully protected, it gets labeled, and nobody opens that bag until the bag is no longer in your sight. Monitor transport. Everything needs to go, and you need to make sure that no bags are left behind. And then finally, you need to write out what happened and turn that into somebody in your chain of command or your corporate hierarchy. Business continuity is the ability to continue to do business with the least amount of disruption possible. The idea is that you lose no more than maybe 4 hours of business. Okay, so your backups happen every 4 hours. Bing, bing, bing. And so let's say something tragic happens, your network is destroyed, but you've got backups from 4 hours ago. So that means you replace your hardware, whatever it needs to be done, you reload those backups, and you lost 4 hours of business. That's acceptable. Disaster recovery plan details the process for restoring those things. You need to have a plan. And after the disaster, it is much too late to worry about a plan. Contingencies, I'll let you figure out the difference between cold, hot, and warm sites. Disaster recovery as a service is a cloud-based disaster recovery possibility or option, and I'll let you read about that. Power management, you need to have UPS available. Even the smallest company, you can buy a battery backup and a power supply for under $100. Larger companies, you're going to have rooms of batteries. So UPS, you need to know what that is. A power distribution unit, you need to know what that is. The 2 different types of UPS, you need to know what they are. I'll let you look at all the diagrams. The backup system, basically, you need to have an automated system that does some kind of backups. The company I mentioned earlier with the USBs, they depended on somebody to go in there every day and change out those pluggable USB drives. Well, somebody didn't do their job correctly. Somebody swapped them out, but then they left the USB in the server room on a short table. So when the flood came, the backup was destroyed just like the equipment was. So you need to make sure that a backup is done and that it's better to have it. Number 1, 2 rules for backup. It needs to be automated. You don't want to depend on somebody doing it. And number 2, it needs to be off-site. You need to have your backup go away every day because there's no point in having your backup drive in a filing cabinet. If there's a fire and the filing cabinet burns up, well, there went your backup. So it's important that it go out of the building, it goes somewhere else. That's why disaster recovery as a service, cloud backups are very, very convenient because they go away. and they're somewhere safe usually. It's important that you have a trustworthy provider, but still, they're a lot safer than on a table in the server room. 3-2-1-1 rule, I'll let you go through that. Recovery time objective, recovery point objective. We were talking a while ago about 4 hours. Your historical data that you can lose, or your transaction data that you can use, 4 hours is a good target to start with. If you can manage to restore everything up to 4 hours ago, your company's not going to be in too bad a shape. Recovery time objective, now there's another story. That is how long it takes you to get back from the disaster to where you are operating at full capacity. So you need to know the difference between those two. What device or what power device prevents a critical server from losing power? You need to know which one of those. Is it a surge? Is it a generator, PDU, UPS? I'm going to say it's a UPS, uninterruptible power supply, because the server never needs to switch from the wall's power to the UPS's power. It's plugged straight in, usually to the UPS. The UPS is plugged into the wall, so the battery in the UPS is constantly charged. And then if the power goes out from the wall to the UPS, the battery starts feeding the server, and it will keep the server alive until the power is restored, or until you can shut down gracefully. So now that the lesson is in, you should be able to understand the three following things. Use the appropriate tools to collect data from a network. Those are packet analyzers, those are port sniffers, those are the different things that we talked about earlier. Identify methods to optimize network performance. You need to understand how clogs and congestion can happen, and you need to be able to fix those methods where it's open or closed. And then identify best practices for incident response. Remember, backups need to happen automatically, and they need to go off-site. So those things will get you at least started on the quiz. So, once again, thank you for taking this class. This is the last official lecture that we will have. Essentially, what's left now is, and I'm not sure, I won't know exactly what time frame this is, how many weeks we have, or how much time we have until the final, but that's probably going to be the next thing. Complete the quiz for this chapter, complete any assignments, any homework assignments, and then start reviewing for the final. The final exam pulls from the different chapter quizzes. That's where the questions are going to come from. So make sure you review for those and make sure that you're prepared for the final. And once again, thank you so much for taking my class. I hope it was worthwhile to you. If you have any questions or concerns, reach me through the Canvas inbox or whiteR@grayson.edu. Have a good day.